Today we're going to talk about B.F. Skinner. He's best known as the creator of the theory of operant conditioning. This PowerPoint is by Jenny Hammond and Catherine Bailey. As we go through the lesson, think about how you could include these reinforcement schedules into your classroom to prevent problems or to correct behavior. Also, think about whether these are tactics that you would like to use in your classroom. Why or why not? Bunshuis Frederick Skinner, also known as B.F. Skinner, was an accomplished theorist, writer, behavioralist, and inventor. He was best known as the creator of the theory of operant conditioning. He was born in Pennsylvania in 1904. He had a warm and stable youth. He enjoyed building and inventing things. Skinner was known to have a rebellious nature. He refused to participate in chapel and PE classes. It also irritated him to hear statements that he thought was unintelligent. He was considered unmotivated throughout his school years. Upon graduating high school, he received a BA in English Literature at Hamilton College in 1926. He also attended Harvard University in 1928 to study psychology. After Skinner met behavioralist Fred S. Keller, he became inspired to work hard. Keller influenced Skinner by introducing him to the idea of non-human learning and research. This inspired Skinner to conduct research using rats and pigeons. Skinner was also influenced by behavioralist Ivan Pavlov and his classical conditioning theory. The classical conditioning is a theory that happens when two stimuli are paired together in close time. An example would be when Pavlov rings a bell, his dogs would begin to salivate. Pavlov conditioned the dogs to salivate when the bell rang because they believed they were going to be fed. Here's a cute little cartoon I thought you would enjoy. The one dog is talking to the other dog. He says, "Watch what I can make Pavlov do. As soon as I drool, he'll smile and write in his little book." Now let's talk about Skinner's operant conditioning theory. The theory is that behavior is created by consequences that are either pleasant or not pleasant. This is the rule of reinforcement. If the consequences were pleasant, then the behavior will continue. If the consequences are bad, the behavior would stop. This theory states that natural consequences of behavior determine the probability that the behavior will occur again. An example, if I play my video games too long in the morning, I will miss my bus and have to walk to school.
Oh cool, I got 10 minutes till the bus gets here. I'm going to play a couple video games. Oh my gosh, it's been 15 minutes! I missed the bus! Now I gotta walk to school. My science teacher's gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be late.
Now let's talk about operant behavior and the three responses. This theory explains how a behavior is changed by reinforcing a wanted response. Skinner learned that operant conditioning was beneficial to classroom learning because it helps change behavior. Operant conditioning pertains to voluntary responses, but not for reflex responses. Even though operant conditioning was designed to change the behavior of animals, it was then used for educational purposes. It is used mainly to increase learning and to control behavior. Response 1 is neutral operants. They do not change behavior from happening again. They are elements in an environment that do not create a behavior outcome, either positive or negative. Therefore, the behavior continues in spite of the attempts made to change it. Response 2 is reinforcers. Reinforcers change the way a behavior will be repeated. Positive reinforcement. Child comes home with all A's, and the parent rewards him with money. See the example.
Hey Mommy, I just got straight A's.
Oh, honey, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Here's your positive reinforcement for getting all A's.
Thank you.
Negative reinforcement. An alarm goes off in the morning. You must push the alarm button to eliminate the annoying noise. See this example.
heck is that? Oh, I set that on the weekend. Stop it. So glad that's over with.
Response 3 is punishers. Punishers decreases the chance that a behavior will be repeated. Positive punishment is meant to decrease the behavior. An example, a student wearing their out of dress code jacket to school. The teacher disciplines the student by giving them 15 minutes of detention. The punishment is the teacher's detention to the student. Young man, where are you at?
Let's go.
Well, you do know that that's a out of dress code jacket, correct?
Yeah, and I don't care.
Well, you know what? You're getting 15 minutes detention after school.
Fine.
Negative punishment involves taking something good or desirable away. The intent is to lessen the number of times the behavior occurs. The parent asking a child over and over again to clean their room. The child continues to refuse. The parent goes to the child's room and removes all the toys. Donovan,
What?
go clean your room.
Hang on, I'm doing something right now.
Donovan,
What?
go clean your room.
Mommy, please. I gotta do this right now. Just wait.
I've asked you 10 times to go clean your room. I would like you to go clean your room.
Guess what? I have to do things.
Okay, well, you know what I'm going to do right now?
What?
I'm going to take every single toy out of your room.
No. Please, I'll do it. I'm sorry.
Look at this chart. This is examples of positive and negative reinforcements and punishments. On the top left, you have positive reinforcement, which is adding something valued or desirable. On the bottom left, you have negative reinforcement, which is avoiding something unpleasant. On the top right, you have positive punishment, which is adding something unpleasant. And on the bottom right, you have negative punishment, which is removing something valued or desired. Discussion question. How would you implement operant conditioning in the classroom? Hello? Hello? Where's my positive reinforcement? Skinner box main purpose: to find out which schedule of reinforcement would create the most responses. The Skinner box was one of the methods Skinner used to research his theories. It was designed especially to observe and study objects in a controlled situation and allowed him to determine which schedule would provide the most responses. It was a box that included a lever and a bar or key for animals to use. Food, water, or another type of reinforcement would be released when the lever was pressed. Stimuli might include lights, sounds, and images. The floor may also be electrified. The purpose was for the researchers to study behavior in a very controlled environment. The Skinner box and gaming. An interesting fact is that the Skinner box theory is used today by gaming creators. The creators use operant conditioning to create their gaming software. They want the subject to respond to the stimuli using strong emotion. Essentially, the games are operant conditioning chambers. The strong emotions create endorphins in the person's brain. It helps them to escape reality. An example would be when someone plays a game like Wii Bowling. Getting a strike or spare gives the user a strong emotion of pleasure. The player will continue to play the game over and over again as long as they are receiving the emotional response. Discussion questions. Think of a time where you or someone else has played a game over and over again. How was operant conditioning used to pull you into the game each time? What strong emotions did you experience for the gaming habit to continue? Here's a picture of the pigeon experiment. Skinner's earliest experiments in the discovery of learning theory involved pigeons in boxes. Boxes had a food chute, and when the pigeons pressed a button, food would randomly come out for the pigeon to eat. The interesting behavior is that whatever the pigeon was doing before the pellet came down, that behavior would increase and do more of that behavior. They would walk around bobbing their heads, shaking their tails, and watching to see if more food was going to come down.
What is intermittent reinforcement? Intermittent reinforcement refers to the schedule of how behavior is reinforced. Behavior will not be reinforced or rewarded every time it occurs. Example: getting a raise at work, you do not know when you will be getting a raise, but you do know that your hard work should pay off and you will then be rewarded with a raise. There are 4 schedules of intermittent reinforcement: fixed ratio, fixed interval, variable ratio, and variable interval. The first schedule we should talk about is fixed ratio. A behavior is reinforced after the behavior has occurred a fixed number of times. Once the behavior has been reinforced, it will not occur again for a period of time, but then it will occur again at a very high rate until it is rewarded. This is referred to the post-reinforcement pause. The length of this pause is related to the size of the reward when reinforced, and also the number of times the reward is required before being reinforced. An example is a door-to-door salesman who receives $50 for every 10th sale he makes. The next schedule we're going to talk about is variable ratio. This is when a behavior is reinforced randomly after an unknown amount of responses. A behavior may first be reinforced every 10th time, and then the second time the behavior is reinforced, it may be the 6th time that the behavior has occurred since the original reinforcement. The next schedule that we're going to discuss is variable ratio. Variable ratio promotes a constant, high, and consistent rate of responding and eliminates the post-reinforcement pause. An example of this would be a server who is smiling at their customers when greeting them. They may be told that he or she has a nice smile the 4th time that they smiled that day, and then they could be told again after they smiled at 2 other customers. This increases the server's behavior to smile, since the more they smile, increases the likelihood that this behavior will be rewarded. The next schedule that we will talk about is fixed interval. This is when a behavior is reinforced after a fixed amount of time has passed, or as we can refer to it, an interval. Only the first time a behavior occurs will it be reinforced. Then no behaviors will be acknowledged until an interval time has passed. After the behavior has been rewarded, a post-reinforcement pause will occur at the beginning of the interval, and the behavior will increase as the interval time goes on. This action is referred to as scalloping. One example of fixed interval would be found in a lab setting, where a rat's desired behavior is to push a lever so that a pellet is presented, but the pellet is only given every 7 minutes. Once the rat has received the first pellet, his behavior will cease for the first 3 minutes, and then gradually increase over the next 4 minutes until his behavior has been reinforced again at the 7-minute mark. Another example is variable interval. This is when behavior is reinforced at random after any amount of time has passed. The amount of time changes, and a behavior could be reinforced after 2 hours and then reinforced again in just 5 minutes. This creates a slow and steady increase of behavior and once again almost eliminates the post-reinforcement pause. An example of variable interval is when a toddler periodically asks for juice throughout the day. The toddler may ask at 8 a.m. and you will say yes and give juice. At 11, they will ask again, but you say no and give water. At 2:30 and 4, when they ask, you may say yes. The child does not know when you will say yes, but they continue to ask, since at random times their behavior of asking is rewarded with juice.
Hey, can I have some juice? I've been doing the phone for a while and I don't know. Kind of hungry.
Sure.
Thank you. I have all this homework. Can I have some juice?
I'd rather you not have juice. I'd rather you have water right now.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I have some juice? I've been playing for a while now.
Sure, you can have juice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, the Rays won! I'm so excited. The Rays won in the playoffs. Can I have some juice?
No, I'd rather you have water right now. It's better for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now that we have gone over the 4 schedules of reinforcement, here is a chart to display them all. First we have the variable ratio, then the fixed ratio, then the variable interval, and finally the fixed interval. And by looking at the chart, you can see how each behavior increases dependent upon the scheduling type that is used.
Intermittent reinforcement and gambling. Intermittent reinforcement is the basis for the reason people gamble. For instance, many people use slot machines. The machines are scheduled to keep a small amount, usually 25% or less. The rest is played out randomly to the players. The reason this is played out randomly is so the player does not become bored with the game. The players are tantalized by the small payouts, the medium payouts, and especially the jackpot payouts, which are usually over 1,000 times over what they bet. The player will usually continue to feed the machine with their small and medium winnings. They will continue playing until they get bored or go broke. Slot machines bring in about 70% of all earnings because that's how intermittent reinforcement works. Intermittent reinforcement and risk-taking. Intermittent reinforcement encourages people to take more risks. The reason for this rationale is when an event only happens periodically, the chances of it happening all the time are small. An example, in Florida, a Class 5 hurricane has not made a direct hit. Because of this, people have become lax and believe it won't happen. So, they build houses on coastal areas where a hurricane could easily destroy the property. Intermittent reinforcement enhances risk-taking behavior by allowing someone to believe they can take that risk because something hasn't happened that frequently. Intermittent reinforcement in the stock market. In the stock market, many people invest in risky investments because the payout is higher. The reason the payout is higher is because there is a higher risk and many people have been known to lose all their money. Whereas, if they invested in a safer investment, where the chances of risk are smaller and consistent, they would be less likely to lose money, but they are only gaining a small profit. Because of intermittent reinforcement for the stock market is that the riskier the investment, the more opportunity to receive a reward is higher.
Now that we've gone over all the types of reinforcement, let's discuss for a moment. Did you agree with Skinner's approach to reinforcement scheduling? And how could you use these methods of reinforcement to condition children with behavioral problems in your classroom? Now, how could we use these methods to condition children who are English language learners? Finally, how would you use these methods in your classroom? Now let's talk about how we can implement intermittent reinforcement into our future classrooms. For fixed ratio, an example of this would be seen while including a star system into our classroom. For every third time that a child is seen helping another child with a task they are struggling with, such as showing them how to tie their shoes, they would receive a star, and when they got 3 stars, they would be given a reward. Implementing variable ratio into our classroom involves changing the amount of times a behavior is rewarded. So instead of rewarding a child every third time that they are seen helping their friends, it could vary from every third time to every 7th time. Since the children do not know how many times they have to be seen helping others, it increases their desire to do so, and therefore creates an environment that is easily maintained inside the classroom. Fixed intervals in the classroom can be implemented through testing. In a 3rd grade classroom, the students know that there will be a spelling test every Friday, and they need to be prepared for it. When they are prepared, they receive a good grade. This encourages the students to study for the test since they know when it will be and the consequences of not being prepared. In the same classroom that we use fixed interval, we can also use variable interval. This can be seen through pop quizzes. Instead of having a set time that the test is, we can surprise the students by implementing pop quizzes. The students will not know when the pop quiz is coming, just that there may be a quiz at any time, so they need to be prepared. This encourages the students to study and do their homework so they will receive a good grade in the unexpected event of a pop quiz. Now for some discussion questions. How would you build upon these examples of using Skinner's reinforcement schedules in your classroom? Furthermore, are these ideas that you would like to use inside of your classroom? We would like to thank you for watching our lesson, and I hope you enjoyed and learned a little bit about Skinner's theory.